Okay, we're just a few sleeps away. What are we talking about? 3 sleeps away from the Dolphins losing by 40 on Sunday afternoon at the Buffalo Bills. Joining us here, she rolls her eyes at me, is the star of FS1 Speak, Joy Taylor, here with us. And thanks for hanging out today, Joy, because I mentioned. So I mentioned on my show a couple days ago when I got back, because the Zaslow family, we're a skiing family now, and I got back a few days ago, and I said, listen, I hope everyone enjoyed last week. I had a couple interviews lined up that, I scheduled to air, and that all went fine, and I actually had an extra one for you guys that I couldn't air because it just became dated. And so now I can tell people it was you. It was with you. We had recorded something, and then the Damar Hamlin stuff happens, and it just it became really dated, the stuff that we were talking about, and so I canceled it from airing, but you still had to deal with all of that. I mean, not as if that's a burden, but you still had to do that like all of last week. Last week's shows must have sucked. Like, was your whole show for like 2-3 days about Damar Hamlin?
No, our whole show the day after it happens was all about Damar. And those shows are always, obviously
Sucks.
difficult to do because everyone is emotional. And, obviously for us, we just really wanted to do, the best we could by him. And you were, in a unique space on our show, particularly because Shady knows him personally
Mm.
and is one of his mentors. They both went to Pitt, obviously, and both play at Buffalo. Shady obviously played at Buffalo, and Damar plays for Buffalo, so they knew each other, and so we had that sort of unique angle to have the discussion about him. And he grew up 30 minutes from where I grew up in Pittsburgh. So obviously, as the nation and more of the sports world was getting to know who Damar Hamlin was, we were able to talk about it and talk about him and his upbringing and his story and who he was, so or who he is. And so that was that. Those shows are obviously incredibly difficult to do, but obviously now we got great news. The shows following, we obviously still talked about it, but it was more in an update fashion, just keeping people updated on what the current situation was with Damar. And it's amazing now he's out of the hospital. It's fascinating, and it's a testament to how strong he is as a person and physically, and how amazing our medical doctors and professionals are.
It was such a cool thing, actually. I talked about this when I got back a couple days ago at the start of the week, where, look, you don't want this to happen to any player, okay? But the fact that it didn't happen to like some scumbag player, it actually happened to what seems to be a really great kid. And as a result of it happening to him, all these stories about who he is have been able to be told over the last week. I didn't know anything about Damar Hamlin. Whoever this happened to, we were likely going to learn some things about, but this kid seems like a great kid. And like, he was asking for a total of $2,500 for his toy drive, which, as of a couple days ago, was up to $8 million. Like I said, you don't want this to happen to any player, but it happened to a kid who seems like a great kid, who is totally willing and able to accept it having happened to him and now using it in a positive fashion.
Yeah, you're right. Like, it's been incredible to watch the reaction around all of sports and really around the country to what happened. I mean, I think it shows uh how much good, I guess, is still out there. I think we can all get a little pessimistic with the news cycle and the tribalism with politics and just the constant nauseating arguing that goes on the internet. It can turn you into a bit of a cynic that anybody really has any empathy out there anymore, and it's fair. So I thought his situation and getting, people getting to learn about him and all the stuff that he's overcome in his life and his family and who he genuinely was, like just asking for $2,500 for a toy drive, when we think of some of the fundraising efforts that are out there generally, it's for it to be up to $8 million. it just shows like people do care, and it was a unifying moment, which that crossed all, cities and sports and rivalries and all of that. So it's one of those moments that like we don't get too often to come together for something, and it was fascinating, really, and special to see.
I struggle with this kind of stuff. As far higher powers, divine intervention. I struggle with all that, and I remember calling you after, when Jose Fernandez died 6.5 years ago, six, whatever it was, 6+ years ago. And the very next game, D. Gordon, who has no business hitting a home run, let alone hitting a home run into the upper deck. Okay. First at bat of the game. His best friend is Jose Fernandez. And I remember calling you. I was hysterically crying, okay, as D. Gordon is rounding the bases. And like, I don't believe in that type of stuff. And then the same thing happened here where the opening kickoff for a team, and Josh Allen's crying after the game talking about it because they hadn't had a kickoff return for a touchdown in 3.5 years. And then the opening kickoff the very next game when, everyone is watching and rooting for the Bills now. They're like team of destiny. We're rooting for the Dolphins this weekend. We're the bad guys. And they return the kickoff for a touchdown. It's like, how the hell did that happen?
I'm not a religious person. I consider myself a person of faith. I grew up in a Baptist church for 16 years, going to church probably 3 to 5 times a week. A very religious household, and I'm off that organized religion stuff. But I do think that I've not reached the point where I don't believe in something bigger than us or, myself. And, there's just that stuff happens in these
weird
situations. And, like people who are not, I guess, as cynical as us about it would say, well, yeah, the explanation is that. But it was, listening to Josh Allen talk about it after the game, I can't even imagine what they were feeling watching that happen. Because it's cool for us, but they're in it. They're the ones that have been dealing with the emotion of all of that at the highest level outside of his family. So yeah, it's that storybook movie stuff that happens in these situations.
So like I said, everyone's rooting against us this weekend. We are the bad guys. The Dolphins fan is the only one not rooting for the Bills this weekend. It sucks that not only does that part stink where everyone's rooting against us, but the last 2 times now that the Dolphins have made the postseason, 2 times in 6 years, our starting quarterbacks are Matt Moore and Skylar Thompson. Joy, freaking sucks.
It does suck. I could make a very bad, like, they're not going to have to root that hard.
Nope.
Against the Dolphins.
Nope.
I think the spread's up to 13 points. I think it's the biggest spread in play.
I saw
13 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
It's the biggest spread in playoff history. Is that true?
I don't know. I know it's the biggest this weekend.
It might not be in history. I need to fact check that before I say that.
I feel like the Patriots against the Giants when they were undefeated was a pretty large spread. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. It's a very big spread, and it should be because, what have you seen from Skylar Thompson, which is unfair to put on him entirely, and the Dolphins without Tua, that would make you feel like it shouldn't be. It's unfortunate, and I do think that we have a lot of. I'm not looking at this weekend as like, what are they going to do in this playoff game? They're going to lose. Like that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
And if I'm wrong, so be it. But there's outside of a complete collapse by the Buffalo Bills, there's the Dolphins don't have a chance in this game.
Here's the thing, Joy. The Buffalo, it's not even so much that, okay, the Dolphins are going to get smoked, and that means we're talking bad about the Dolphins. How about showing the Buffalo Bills a little bit of respect when going into this year, many people thought they were the best team in football. They still might be. So you're talking about the best team in football against a team that is starting their 3rd-string quarterback in the playoffs. Like, let's get real. Let's be real.
Yeah, I don't think I'm saying anything that Dolphins fans should be insulted about. This is the reality of the situation. It'd be a tough game if we did have Tua at this point. Like, they are a great team and they're at home. So yeah, the Bills would be favored regardless in this situation against the Dolphins. And now it's a situation that's very bleak. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not looking at this situation this weekend as who wins or loses this game. It's more about what do the Dolphins do moving forward? Because as high as we all were on this situation, I mean, think about it. At one point this season, we thought Mike McDaniel was coach of the year.
Yep.
And Tua was in the MVP conversation.
Yep.
And no one could deny that the Dolphins were one of the best teams in the league. And now, if I told you all of that and said we were in the playoffs at the end of the year, could you imagine feeling how you feel about the season, about the circumstances the Dolphins are in, and about this weekend the way you do? It's fascinating. That's why you have to play a whole year of football before you evaluate stuff. And we get excited because we're fans and we start crowning people, and that's what we do. And sometimes we're right. And in this case, I don't know how right we were, because what do the Dolphins do next year with Tua? Like, Tua's missed now what will be a third of the season with head injuries. That's what it is. That's the facts. I'm not making it up. It's not my opinion. That's what happened. Mike McDaniel, if he loses this weekend, will have gone 1-4 with backup quarterbacks this season. And that's not good. Like, you can't really use the backup quarterback conversation if you're an elite team with a good coach. Like the Cowboys.
Well, what do you make of Mike McDaniel this year then? Like, what was your take? Like, did he have a good year?
I think he had an average year. We have the same record as last year. The only improvement is that we made the playoffs. And we barely did that. Like, you win, you lose, you're in or you're out. But let's be honest about how we got in. Like, we barely beat the Jets in one of the most unwatchable games in the history of the NFL. It was hideous. I mean, I don't know. Here's my problem. Like, you see what Kyle Shanahan is doing with a 7th round rookie, right? You see what Mike McCarthy did in Dallas without Dak Prescott for 5 games. Cooper Rush, they go 4-1. Like,
yeah, but I think there's about Skylar Thompson. Like, I think Mike McDaniel has proven he can help a quarterback. I mean, like his job.
But it's not just the quarterback. Like, the rest of the team has to be good too. The rest of the team has to step up also. That's the head coach. He's not the quarterback's coach. He's not the offensive coordinator.
See, like, I think
we don't know what Skylar Thompson is, and obviously they're an unbelievable roster. But that's what I'm saying. Like, for me, I'm really tired of it always being like, well, what about this and what about that? Like, go be good, go win games. Enough already. It's always something else. Like, either you are good enough to get it done or you're not. And it's this constant question with the Dolphins for me. And that's what's driving me nuts about this season is there are things to be, positive about. There are things to be encouraged about. Mike McDaniel's going to be there next year, and he should. But do you really have any answers on what the Dolphins were this season? They were good when Tua was out there healthy. They couldn't win games without him outside of whatever you want to contextualize that Jets game as. And when you look around the league, if everyone who had a backup quarterback was losing in the same fashion that the Dolphins were without their starting quarterback, then I'd be like, okay, like, that's just what it is. That's not what's happening. Your responsibility as a head coach isn't just to fix the quarterback. Like, there's more to winning games here. And obviously, look, there's only so much great at anything. But I don't think that the Dolphins have real answers about what the future looks like next year based off of what happened this year.
See, not that he didn't have his flaws this year, make some mistakes. A rookie head coach, like, we don't expect a rookie quarterback to be a finished product. Why does a rookie head coach have to be a finished product? But what I would say, and I'd imagine you would agree with me, what was Mike McDaniel's job at the start of his rookie season? Was his job to find out if we have a quarterback, or was his job to make the playoffs? Because I believe his job was to find out if we have a quarterback, and he did both.
Did he? Because I don't know if Tua is playing next year.
Oh, no. Well, that he can't control. But if he's
Right.
on the field, we found out they have a quarterback.
Yeah, but what else do we have? Like, you have to be on the field. So that's more of my question. I would say both also, because for whatever people feel about Brian Flores, you had back-to-back winning seasons, and you have the same record as him last year. So I thought that his job was both. You need to make the playoffs, and you have to find out if we have a quarterback. I'm with you. Like, he's a rookie head coach, and I think overall he did a nice job. I just don't know that we, like, how do you feel about next year? Do you feel like confident in anything that's returning, the direction?
No, because I don't know what
team?
we're gonna do at quarterback. I'm gonna go into next year not feeling any better about the team as I was going into this year. It's like the same.
Yeah, that's my question. And not that I think you should hold people to standards that are unrealistic, because I don't think that, but that is an unfortunate feeling. And I think what makes it worse is if it was like struggles all season long, then, and we never got to a high, it wouldn't be so disappointing.
Yeah.
But the high that you got to at one point this season with the Dolphins, and really thinking like, finally the questions have been answered, and they're still not. I think that is what's frustrating for me and for lots of other Dolphins fans. It's like you said, damn, like, we're here again.
Yep.
We're in the playoffs and don't have our starting quarterback, and we don't know what direction the team is going in, and we really don't know what the identity of the team is yet. And that's frustrating.
Yep. It sucks going into the game where, like, I want to say I'm not looking forward to it, but like, it's the playoffs, and they haven't been in the playoffs in 6 years, so I am looking forward to it. But it just kind of feels like we're marching toward the inevitable, right?
Yeah, it does. And look, I want to be an internal optimist or something, but the quarterback's the most important position on the field, and
they scored 9 points against the Jets. That's not going to beat the Bills.
Correct. That's not going to get it done. And to your point, like, put some respect on the Bills. Yeah. Even if we were at 100%, this was going to be a tough game, as it should be. It's the playoffs. So yeah, I mean, I'm still excited about it. Like, I think it is an accomplishment. I think it's a testament to what they did as a whole this season, that they were able to make the playoffs. Like, there are teams who are not in the playoffs. The Lions had a great last half of the season, not in the playoffs. The Jets had moments this year they were feeling they were ahead of schedule, not in the playoffs.
Better keep them receipts.
Yeah, I wish. Speaking of that, the Packers also not in the playoffs. I wish people would save the receipt thing for when it's actually done. Like Aaron bringing up, like, what are they going to say about us now? I said it on the show last week. We played the sound. I'm like, I'm going to say exactly what I'm saying now. You're not in the playoffs. I'm
going to say you lost another big game at Lambeau. That's your move.
Right. Like, what do you mean? What am I going to say?
That's his move. Losing big games in Lambeau is Aaron Rodgers' move.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, the Lions, the Jets, the Packers, those are teams that are not in the playoffs, who had moments this season to be excited about, and they're not there right now. So I think for Dolphins fans, you have at least that. We did such a good job for most of the season that even at the end, when everything fell apart, we still managed to get here. And you can't win a Super Bowl if you're not in the playoffs. So there is that to feel good about. I know there's a lot of questions, and it feels like despair, and hopefully it's not as embarrassing as we imagine. But even the embarrassment part, like, we're on our third string quarterback. You know, I mean,
you're not going to look at it that way when the game's over. You're going to feel really shitty. You're not going to.
I don't think I am, because I feel worse about the whole of the season and like what we're going to do next year than I do about this game. Like, this game is just, it's a wash to me. Like, you don't have your starting quarterback. You don't have your backup quarterback. We've seen what the Dolphins have looked like without those guys. So I don't have any expectations of this game, and nobody realistically should. Any other team, I mean, certainly if this was the Chargers without Justin Herbert, nobody would be dragging the Chargers for not being able to get a win against the Bills. Like, you don't have your starting quarterback. It is what it is. It's going to take a collapse by the Buffalo Bills, which is not going to happen. So whatever, like, who cares what anyone else has to say about it? That's why I'm saying, to me, it's not about this weekend. It's what are we going to do moving forward, because we weren't able to get anything done without Tua, and now we don't know what Tua is going to be next year.
Tell everyone how they can catch you on TV, Joy. Big star. Go ahead. Tell everyone.
Speak on FS1 weekdays, 4:30 to 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can follow me on social media at Joy Taylor Talks. You saw you were on Speak.
Yeah, that was
debut.
cool. I saw that when I was in Utah last week. You sent me the message, and I saw the picture of me up there. A little bit more hair back. Not a lot more, but a little bit more hair. A little bit.
That was it was LeBron's birthday, and we were talking about our favorite LeBron moments, and that was
Oh, yeah.
one of my favorite LeBron moments.
Oh, yeah.
Winning that championship down beautiful Biscayne Boulevard,
That's
riding
right.
in the parade.
That's right. I had my own Lamborghini. Me and my wife and my son, we had a Lamborghini to ourselves in that parade. Well, what a
Good
moment.
times. I was on the Poppy bus
Ah,
with Mike Ryan and Poppy Levitard.
there you go. There you go. Good times. Seems like forever ago.
It was forever ago.
Great job, Joy. Thank you. We love you.
Thanks, Daz. Love you guys too.